Okay class, today we're going to look at some of the more common saws that we use in the workshop. Now the one in front of you here is a tenon saw, which is spelled T-E-N-O-N, so 10 on, it's a good way to kind of remember it. Now your tenon saw is used only for straight cuts in wood. Okay, you can't cut curves with this, and you certainly don't cut metal with it, and you really shouldn't use it for plastics. Now the tenon saw, very simple saw, it's got handle here, blade here, and this back. This is called the back. Okay. Now sometimes this is made of brass and the old traditional saws. This one's out of steel, and it has a number of teeth along the full length here. The saw itself is about 300 long, same size as your rule. Okay, so that allows you to make some good long cuts. Now the depth of the cut is limited by the back here, so you're going to get maybe about an 80mm cut. Not that we cut wood much thicker than that, but that's as deep as you'll be allowed to cut with this saw, 80mm. Okay, now, good way to use this saw is remember your grip. So your grip when you hold the saw should be what we call a pistol grip. These 3 fingers through the handle, your forefinger down the side, and your thumb round the back. Good solid grip. Make sure the saw stays nice and straight. If you tuck this finger in, it's quite easy to move the saw. If you put your forefinger in front, it's a lot harder to move the saw. So that helps to keep the saw nice and straight. Now when you're sawing a straight line, sawing straight down, you should be able to see both sides of the blades. As I'm looking at this saw just now, I can see both sides. If I can only see one side, it means the saw is at an angle, or the other side. So a good wee tip is if you're looking straight down the saw, make sure you can see both sides of the saw. Okay, so that's your tenon saw, used for straight cuts in wood. Okay. Another saw that we're going to look at is one that's quite similar, but this is called a dovetail saw. Now the dovetail saw has the same brass back and the same flexible blade and a handle. Slightly different handle in this case, but you get them that looks quite like your tenon saw as well. Now again, depth of cut is dependent on the brass back. In this case it's about 40-45mm, so half the depth that you would get using the tenon saw. The length of the blade, somewhere around 200mm. So it's a smaller saw overall. Now it has a lot more teeth. All these teeth here create a finer cut. So the more teeth, the finer the cut. Like say a joiner's hand saw that you'd maybe see, they have maybe 8 to 10 teeth per inch, right? Now it's TPI, teeth per inch, or tips per inch. Now we use metric. Now metric, an inch equivalent is 25mm. So if I measure 25mm there, I can count the amount of teeth or tips of the teeth that are in that area. So I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, about 18 to 20 teeth per inch. Now the tenon saw will have slightly less, so maybe have 16 to 18 teeth per inch, whereas a dovetail saw will have 16 to 20, 22 teeth per inch, depending on what one you buy. Okay, so dovetail saw used for fine cuts in wood, especially when you're cutting the dovetail joint. That's what it's designed for. Okay. The other saw that we use is a coping saw. So that's C-O-P-I-N-G. Now the coping saw again has lots of very fine teeth. If you were to measure it, you would probably find it's got at least 22 to 24 teeth per inch. Lots of fine teeth. And you can see the blade is so much narrower. It's only a few millimeters wide. Now that allows the blade to go around intricate shapes, and that's what we use the coping saw for. It's not for straight cuts in wood, it's for curved cuts. So we only ever use this for curved cuts. Now we have a big space between the blade and the body, which allows us to get a very deep cut should we need it. And it also allows us to go round shapes as well. Okay, so if I was say want to cut a shape out of this piece of MDF, if I was using the saw in a normal manner, I could cut down there, as deep as there. Okay, that's as far as I could go. But a wee trick with the coping saw is you can move the blade. So if you slacken the handle, and then you can move the blade. See how I move these 2 pins? Now make sure they line up when you're doing this. when your two pins have lined up, you make sure they're lined up, because if they're twisted it'll snap the blade. I can then, using the same saw, rather than coming down to there, if I turn the blade I can cut all the way down. Whereas if I was using it like that, it would come to there and stop. So I hope you can see the difference there. And that allows you to cut longer, deeper cuts. Now, a wee trick, if you want to cut some material out the middle of a board, say I wanted to cut this wee blob shape here, what I've done is I've drilled a hole, and that allows me to put my blade through there to allow me to cut the rest of that shape. So, if I take the blade off by slackening the handle, so wind the handle back and you'll find that the blade will pop off. Now there's two wee pins holds the blade on. There's two wee pins that hold the blade on both ends. Okay. Now these pins go into the slots. But what you can do is, if you take your piece of wood and you slide it through that hole, slide the blade through that hole, and then reassemble the saw, what you can do is you can cut all the shape that's there out. So it's a wee fiddle, but you just take a minute, put your blade back in, push that out of the way. So slacken the handle so the blade can pop in, and then tighten it back up. So again, making sure the pins are in line. This pin here, when you've tightened the handle right up, make sure the pins are in line. Now, using the saw, I can cut round all of that. Just following my line all the way around. Not a problem at all. So that's a good way of being able to cut more intricate shapes out inside a piece of wood. Okay, so take that back off. Take that out of there. Put my blade back on. So this is how you would replace the blade should you manage to snap one as well. Just a case of slackening the handle off, taking the broken blade out, putting a new blade in. Now make sure the teeth point forward. So when you see it, you need to look very, very closely. I doubt it would pick it up in the camera, but the teeth have a slightly forward lean towards them. That's the way you want to put the blade back in. Okay? If you're not sure, just ask your teacher and they'll help you. But you can see, if you get a really close look, you can see how that works. Okay? So, to recap, guys. Coping saw, used for curved cuts in wood and plastic. The dovetail saw, used for intricate, delicate, straight cuts in wood. And your tenon saw, which is your general purpose saw, again cutting straight cuts in wood, never for metal, or you could really use it for plastics, but I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, so that's your 3 common saws that we use in the workshop.